following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
It's a drastic change going from the monstrous expanse of the Nürburgring to the relatively tiny confines of Road Atlanta. But this group of drivers is up to the task, being used to a shockingly wide variety of circuits. With the season hitting the halfway point, attitudes may change now that we can see who are the clear contenders for the title, who will back off to points race, and who will up the aggression and risk it all for a chance at the crown. We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Road Atlanta gets one last hurrah after the Petit Le Mans. Tell us about this beautiful track.
Joe, it is a beautiful track, isn't it? Beautiful 750-acre facility just north of Brazelton, Georgia, that's been here since, well, the very earliest part of the 1970s. 1970, in fact. And, boy, what a great place to have the Kamel GT series at. Retro track, retro cars. You know, from opening days, drivers have just been mesmerized by this track and horrified by the rhythm, especially, you know, the serpentines down through the S's and at always dangerous turn 5, the left-hander up the hill after getting down off that hill. Joe, a lot of speed here. You're on the throttle. Good opportunities here to overtake. But the best way to get an idea of what this track is really like is to hop on board for another GSRC lap around Road Atlanta.
All right, we're in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Coming down to turn 1, there's a fair bit of braking here, so passes can be possible. But going through too wide will cost you both a lot of time. Out of the corner, you don't necessarily want to track out completely so that you can set up better for turn 3. It can be a bit difficult to bring the car fully off to the left, and watch out not to get a cut course penalty. Feather the throttle through turn 4 so that you can get a better run into the S's, but you'll still need a big lift as you plunge into this valley. Be sure to get the car set up to brake in a straight line for turn 5. It'll be easy to upset the car on the binders, and then despite the 4-wheel drive, you can lose traction up and over the crest due to the bumps and the curve. Finally, you get a short rest before turn 6. Once again, the temptation to brake late will be great, but if you're not tucked in neatly to the apex, even the banking won't keep you from understeering. You'll get a little squirt of the gas before 7, but ideally you want to line up the car so that it's easy to get to the power on the exit. With it leading the car onto the long backstretch, every little bit of momentum counts. Along here, it's all about straightening out the weaving circuit and focusing on nailing your shifts. But if anyone gets a run on you, they're likely to attempt to pass into one of the most popular overtaking spots, the chicane. While the normal racing line is to the right, it is possible to successfully defend from either side if you can keep your speed through this left-right. Watch your wheel spin coming off of there, and then same thing under the bridge. Give a little lift to keep traction. One more big lift through the final turn, and then hopefully you've finished a lap around Road Atlanta.
There you see a lap around Road Atlanta. They're going to be doing a lot of those here today because, boy, in the Nissans, they go by quick. Let's take a look at the points championship while we wait for qualifying to go through. Up at the top of the GTPs, you can see Fabian Gerber leads now with their one drop week included. And Ardo Iamaki is actually already out of drop points there with a 0 for his. So going to be interesting for him for the rest of the season, even though he's only 15 points back. In fact, it's just about even as well back to Toyka in third. Justin Albrecht and Mike Houghton swap places there from 4th to 5th. Both United States drivers are still in the hunt. Let's take a look at the GTP lights now. Martin Krejcik leads the way. None of them have drop points, and that's because, well, this is the amateur championship, so they finish a little bit farther down. They do score their them according to where they finish. It's not their own set of points that they'll be scored by. But look at the fight from second through fourth. Bell, Kopak, and Guldagger are separated by 3 points. That is incredibly tight there. Dave Peterson rounds out our top 5. Sean, we also have the GTO and GTU championships. What are we looking at there?
Oh, man, here's what we're looking at. Phil, in and around the lake, our old friend there from the UK, 90 points, sitting up in first. Jamie Hall, 9 points behind. Of course, those two are teammates, and they've been giving us great entertainment all season. Nick McConas, there's the American Air up into third, 25 points behind. It's tight behind him, though. Villarreal only dropping 1 spot, so only 2 points back. Riley Thompson, that's the mover. This kid from the Mid-South is starting to charge here. You know, in the past, we saw him start strong and fade late. So here we are, halfway point of the season. Riley Thompson's coming on. Tell you what, Joe, he might get himself into this championship battle here before long. Let's look at the GTU standings now, and it's Milan Arnasi up there with 63 points. He's pretty clear right now of Andrea Albertinelli, who has come up 2 spots. The Italian now just 22 points behind. 5 points behind him, Iskrin Pandev. Down a spot there. The Bulgarian is trying to fend off now Thomas Delmuth, who's been dropped down a spot. The German there, 34 points behind. And then it's Brian Shanahan coming up into the top 5, 34 and a half. Okay, somehow we worked out a half point. I'm not sure how that worked out, Joe, but there you go, 34.5.
Yeah, I need to do a little bit of research into that, exactly the reasoning for why they've got the half points. But as we watch qualifying work its way around, just have one more slide to go here, and that is the race details. Just in case we have newcomers, we like to take care of you guys that are just coming in for the first time. Of course, as I mentioned, we are halfway through the season with this race, round 6. Back to the 40-minute races that we're used to, the sprint races in this series, which means there are no scheduled stops for fuel. And, of course, they have the open setups in these cars, which they tend to be very helpful in this community. It's a small community. They're not really keeping them too close to their chest. They try to bring newcomers in with open arms. There's the scoring at the bottom of your screen. They have no spare cars in this series. If you break it, you bought it. But the good news is there's no incident limit here in the Kamel GT series. So the off tracks that they will collect will only affect their safety rating. You will not see someone DQ'd based on that. Meanwhile, up at the top of the qualifying, here's a name I'm not used to up in the GTPs. Dave Walsh, who just actually got beaten to the pole by Anthony Pisto just as I was speaking. Still, Dave Walsh on the front row. We'll have to watch for him. Down in your GTOs, though, Ove Trangarade is back to his speed that we're used to, with Vili Raola joining him on the front row at the moment.
Yeah. Interesting enough, Ove hooked up here at Road Atlanta and sits there on top right now. And Joe, not by much. It's pretty close. Vili Raola, the Finn, seems to have great pace also, at least in qualifying trim here. Those two, I've got to be honest, that could be an interesting battle getting this race started. The Scandinavian and the Finn, well, they've had some classic battles on track before, and then just behind them, the teammates there, Jamie Hall and Philip Lake. So, ooh, boy, that's the guys you're used to seeing up front. The start here can get very tricky, Joe, especially coming down the hill for that first time.
I've got an update. The half points was because the last race at the ring split, so they made sure that the second split received fractional points, and that's how they deal with that situation. And now we've got Yoni Hagner up to the front of Ove Trangarade as we watch just the last of our cars with 2 minutes left. Matthew Jete and Kiradine Boafia. Glad to see Kiradine back in this. Looks like he hasn't got a lap time in yet. He's just on his first one right now, and I think he'll only get this one. Does he have enough time for a second here?
Yeah, I got a minute.
Just barely.
Minute and 40, yeah.
Should be able to get around. So let's see what this first one brings in. He's usually a fast driver, which is why we really want to pay attention, see what that Dodge Challenger can put on the board. And fortunately, the first one does not count. He had an off track somewhere around there.
Jeez. And you know what, Joe? I've noticed that maybe his connection might be struggling a little bit. And of course, what that can do is that can disqualify your time alone. If you lose connection long enough, it won't calculate that time.
Brian Williams still circulating. He's got both of his lap times in. So at this point, he's just getting in a little bit more practice. The only driver yet to take a lap is Matthew Jette, or at least yet to complete his qualifying, I should say. He's coming over the hill just now, currently sits 13th in class. Let's see what the number 33 can do as he crosses the line. He does improve, and it puts him up one more spot, but every spot counts, especially with how big of a field we have today. Wafia going to try and finish this lap. We'll see if this one counts. Hopefully, the couple blinks that we saw from him did not discount it. So he's blinking even more times as he's just going to sneak across with a few seconds left. And he is going to get one in, and that puts him up into fourth. Nice job for Kieradine in the dying stages to finally bring one in. So with that, we're going to start to go to the grid with our pole sitter, Antti Lepisto, being up at the front. Let's see what the number 29 of Dave Walsh can do. Again, a name I'm not super familiar with. He may have been here before, but it's not been recently. Michael Houghton will start P3 with Ardo Iamaki starting in fourth. Kim Eriksson will be next to him in fifth with Tobias Gerber starting sixth. Then the next row will have Timo Toika in seventh and Fabian Gerber with eighth. Justin Albrecht will be ninth and Rob Olenek 10th. Then you've got Fabian Gerber on the next slide starting in 11th. Hannu Etupalta starting in 12th, hailing from Finland, another newcomer. David Raber will be P13 with Luis Emerton starting 14th. Mark Pickford will be P15 with Clayton McLeod starting in 16th. He'll be followed by James King in 17th and Mike Kopak in 18th. 19th will be Pablo Suarez with John Keefe starting 20th. 21st goes to Matthias Gallagher. David Miller in 22nd, Johnny Bell in 23rd, Mika Ihalainen in 24th, and Brian Williams, the last of our GTP class, in 25th. The qualified Jim Henley did not put a time in, and he will still start at the tail of that field.
All right, Joe, the old number 3, Joni Hagner, will sit on the pole. Ove Trengerade second. Billy Raola will start third today. Kieradine Bawafia in fourth. Jamie Hall fifth there. Philip Lake in sixth. So the teammates will be right there next to each other. Nick Bucano seventh. Andrea Albertinelli in eighth. Riley Thompson with a ninth place effort there. Milan Arnazzi 10th. Giorgio Buscemi in 11th. 12th goes to Mika Kivipuro. 13th, Matthew Jette. Ben Laughter 14th today. Franco Scurry, the Italian, starting 15th. Carlos Fonseca, 16th. 17th, to Brian Shanahan. Kirill Kolobuzov, 18th. 19th for Hideki Koivico. Branislav Romanek, 20th. 21st for Thomas Delmu. Ian Hannon, 22nd. 23rd for Michael Haynes. Tommy Lacombe, 24th. 25th, Antti Terho and Rafael Moreno Saz. Neither one of those showing to be on track at the moment, Joe.
Huge field today, as you can tell by the long time it took us to get through. Thankfully, we have a full pace lap, and in fact, we're going to get a little bit of a slower look around this hilly and gorgeous circuit that has seen sports cars for decades now. Up through the treacherous turn 5. This is the one really that I expect to take out most of them, as just want to give a quick reminder for everybody to subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network while we have a chance to breathe.
Yes, hit that subscribe button. Absolutely. Like you said, Joe, turn 5, the GTO's going through there right now. Yeah, man, that's going to be the killer spot on this opening lap with all the cars bunched up and still trying to just get, locked down to the track. It's a little warm on track. It is a partly cloudy day. Grip may be a little tough to find early, especially getting off turn 5. Getting down in there is one thing. You talk about drivers getting together. It's the exit where you can really get yourself in trouble if you get a little bit too wide right or to the high curb.
Yes, and as we watch them work their way down the back stretch, the GTPs are almost to the end of it. So this is where a lot of the passes will happen into the chicane. They've only got a couple more corners here, then they go racing for 40 minutes here in round 6 with the iRacing Kamel GT Series live on the iRacing Esports Network. The pace car is going to duck its way into the pit entry. And then we're going to give control over to Antti Lepisto, checking him up slightly. Now he goes away, jumps Dave Walsh by a large margin, and that's going to allow Michael Houghton to get in front into second place. It's a battle for fourth behind them between Iamaki and Kim Erickson. They sort it out. Let's go back to the GTO start.
Hogner got a big jump on the field, Joe. Real big. In fact, he's opened it up by almost the straightaway. It's everybody else behind him battling. Ruola, Jamie Hall, Ove, Trengray, Caradine, Bawafia now side by side with Phil Lake. They're all still trying to get settled here.
Thankfully, it's looking pretty clean so far as I watch the GTPs work their way through turn 5. Already, our leader, Joni Hagner, in the GTOs has hit that 5th turn and is leading that field up through. Thankfully, as we got a spin in turn 7 there with one of the GTPs.
I think it was it Luis Emerton? It was Emerton as contact. He got run into there by not James King, but Dave Raber.
Ooh, big action for third place. Erickson and Ardo Yamaki get shoved off track. A whole string of cars just flies by before he gets back to the line as he makes more contact and he's into the wall. That was the car of Justin Albrecht who got into the side of him. I fear that might be the end of Ardo Yamaki's day because that is concrete that he got into. This all started right here. He tries to make a move. Fortunately gets elbowed out there, Sean, and as he comes up over the hill, he's trying to get the car going again. It's hard to go side by side through this final corner, and it just did not work for him. Wow, that was a hard slam.
Yeah, it certainly was. Boy, what a tough break for Iamaki there early. That's a couple big drivers out of this thing, Joe, right on the first lap.
And they've still got a lot of action left to go, that's for sure. We watch our leader, Antti Lepisto, work his way with a nice little gap to Houghton. He is well clear. You can see the almost 2 seconds back to Michael at this point. As we got a little battle behind them. That's between Dave Walsh and Timu Toika. Walsh is having a rude introduction to this series. Gerber gets by him as well from the front row. Now back to 6th here early in this race.
Our GTO leader just got past Jim Henley. Is a Nissan struggling right now, Joe, here off the start of this race.
And I believe Henley started this. He was the one that didn't put a lap time in, so he is struggling to keep the pace up. This is not good news for our GTPs, with him being in the thick of them. Vili Ruola seeing the back of that Nissan, wondering what he's going to do to have to battle with our leader, Hagner. Riding on board with Ruola. Oh, and the GTP almost loses it. Hagner has to check up.
That's a problem, Joe. That really is a problem. Look at this. This is really stacked up, this battle here at the front. Hagner had run away with this. It started to anyway. Now it's brought in the field. Here comes Vili Ruola, Jamie Hall, everybody coming on board here. Ove, Trent, Caradine.
This is a train of cars, and this is exactly where he doesn't want it to happen, because this backstretch, these GTPs punch a huge hole in the air. So we watch them now get on there. Oh, look at it stack up behind them, all the way back to Kiradine and Phil Lake even.
It reminds me of some adventures I had on the Long Island Expressway, Joe. Man, I just backed up, bottlenecked, everybody frustrated.
You can see how much deeper on the brakes Henley can get, but he locks him up. He almost gets into the side of Rolla. Another checkup yet again. Now it's the car of Jamie Hall getting stuck behind him. This is just causing all sorts of frustrations for this slower class.
I'm not hearing any radio contact either, Joe. There's silence.
That's probably a good thing right now. Need to concentrate. That's causing action for Boafi. Had an attack from Phil Lake. Couldn't quite pull it off.
And there's Riley Thompson ready to scoop it up if these two get into trouble.
Which is looking more and more likely. Let's stay on this. I can report Dave Walsh seems to have some sort of issue because he's been dropping down the... Oh, and a big issue because actually he just disappeared. Oh, yeah. I was going to say that he was dropping down the order. And in this case, it was because he spun off and actually he disappeared on his own volition, I think.
Yeah, he spun in a bad spot there. We won't have a replay of it, but Dave's not here. I had to do it. I'm sorry.
Good reference there. So, as we watch the car of Jamie Hall, on Riley Thompson here, with the battles up ahead of them. This is Phil Lake just ahead of him. Kiradine, Boafia, Ove Trangarade. This is not abated. Henley's still in the thick of it.
Have we ever seen such a train so early I mean, really, Joe, this is intense, and honestly, it's got everything to do with poor Henley, who just got back around Yoni Hogner. Hogner had to make an evasive move to avoid him.
Yeah, let's hope that Henley can start to streak away now and get out of these guys' hair. We've seen battles by this, but it's usually at places like Road America, not Road Atlanta.
Right, exactly.
This is such a technical first half of the course that you're seeing them go through. Now is a big moment there for Trangarade.
Yeah, Henley bends it there coming out of 5, Joe. Right in front of everybody.
We watch Boafi get around there, but the prototypes have caught the back of this trade of cars now, so this is going to get even more interesting. This is Ericsson trying to fight with Toyka while they go through just a whole bunch of cars, as well as Houghton just ahead of them. Bad exit onto the back stretch for Ericsson. Is Timo going to get a chance? He's got the slipstream down the back stretch. Houghton's going to be able to get away from these two as they battle it out. Toyka knows it's early in the race. He decides to get out of it early on the straightaway. Man, the ground that they gain under braking as we ride on board with Timu is just frightening. Got to race in the Audi a few times, and it's scary enough in those cars. I cannot imagine in the Nissans. A little bit of an off from Carlos Fonseca and the GTPs. You should see them go by him up the hill. Down in P6, we got some action. Sean, what's happening there?
Well, Riley Thompson just got by Ove Trangarade. They were side by side, door to door. Ove struggling a little bit. He has dropped a couple of spots. It's what's going on right behind him has really started to log jam now. You've got Mucanos, Albertinelli, who just were door to door, and Mucanos gets by, puts himself up in 8th spot. But that log jam we were talking about has started to spread out just a little bit and turn into some more individual battles where Thompson honestly still trying to fend off the charge of Trangarade, trying to get that back. And of course, just up in front of them, you've got action there.
Yeah, and the prototypes, Timo Toyka side by side with Kim Ericsson. He finally had a chance in the chicane. Still side by side coming through the last corner, and you can see that outside line just not helping. Timo gets held up. Fabian Gerber going to take advantage down to the inside of turn 1, and he gets it done, but he goes a little bit wide, has to save the car. Loses the spot once again. Oh my goodness, it is chaos here because Toyka had to go off track to pass Gregorio Buscemi. Woo! I told you we had to say that while we could catch our breath, because it's going to be like this all race long.
Yeah, it is. And now it's going to get really messy, Joe, because we've got, of course, our leaders coming through, the leaders of the GTOs.
Yeah, that was Nicholas Mukanos almost losing in front of Toika. Poor Toika spun the tires coming out of turn 7. That cost him time. Has to try one more time to get by Mukanos. Now he uses the extra power of the Nissan to stream on by.
Joe,
Wapia in a fight. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's what I'm on.
Yeah, that is in the GTPs battling for 4th place. Phil Lake side by side, and Wapia gets it for now, just in time for Michael Houghton in P2 and the prototypes to get through.
Yeah, Houghton seems to have been really fortunate there getting his Nissan through. He's got the leaders right in front of him at the moment, though. Rivola, Hagner.
Oh, my goodness. Door to door going through turn 3, and Teemu Toika gets balked. They have to try and make these moves. Side-by-side contact between Gerber and Buafia. Everybody usually says you can't try and pass traffic through the S's, but nobody's listening to that advice now. So we ride on board with Jamie Hall. A little bit of contact as they come out of 7 with Fabian Gerber. That's the 2nd time in 1 lap.
Yeah, and Michael Haynes parked it out of 7. He saw that trouble coming. He said, you know what, I'm getting off the track.
I'm out. You guys have fun. So, as Billy Rolla now holding 2nd behind Hagner, Yoni Hagner. That guy's been trying to chase him down all race long. Traffic has not been helping.
And Lake just gets around Buafia coming out of the final turn, and here comes Riley Thompson.
Oh, Teemu Toika gets turned into the inside wall through turn 1. That was Gerber who spun him around.
He was trying to avoid the GTO there of Tommy Lacombe.
Yeah, he thought he was clear. I bet his spotter even said he was clear, and just at that split second,
wow,
Gerber stuck his nose in. And a watch on board from the DH driver, and you can't blame him. Yeah, that just looks like a racing incident to me. Toika down to 14th after that hard slam into the concrete. So your leader over in the GTPs is Lepisto. Your leader in the GTOs is Hagner. Buckle up, because this is what it's going to be like for the entire 40 minutes.
Yep.
There you see the Finn leading the way in the number 2. There's the number 1 of Yoni Hagner. Excuse me, number 3.
Oh, Buafia with another bad trip up the hill. Sorry, Joe. Riley Thompson comes back around. Thompson's now up to 5th, continuing his charge forward. Oh, what happened to Phil Lake? He got around Phil Lake too.
Make that 4th now. Must have been more traffic. They've got the car of Luis Emerton, who's trying to climb back up the field, so he's in a hurry. He's not going to want to wait too long. He'll get it around 4 into the S's. Nicely done.
Joe, this is the Riley Thompson we came familiar with when he first got started, man. He's got a good run going so far.
So does Philip Lake. He's going to look to the inside, down into turn 6. Just as they've got Suarez right behind them, he has to brake in his Mercedes. Still side by side coming into turn 7. The inside is in favor of Phil Lake, but the momentum is in favor of Riley Thompson. It is going to be a drag race down to the chicane. Is Suarez going to cause an incident here, because John Keefe is now coming up? 2 battles coming together. Suarez thinks about splitting them, thinks better of it. Thompson has the inside down into the chicane. Can he finally get it done? He's holding up this battle behind them as they're trying to wait for it to settle itself, but Phil Lake fends him off. Woo! Now we're going to get a chance for them to get through. Yes, it is indeed. Thompson with another run. Oh, he has to back out of it. They almost went 4 wide there. More GTPs coming through. This is Goldogger and Ihalainen. This allows a run for Kiradine Buafia. Up to turn 3. Defensive move from Riley Thompson, trying to keep that black and yellow car back.
Yeah, and Buafia missed his entrance a little bit there to the top of the hill.
Yep, I think they're finally splitting up.
Finally?
Finally, yeah.
15, 20 minutes into this race.
And as that was happening, we had to miss out on the battle for 7th between Olenek and Pickford. Just watch Olenek take a podium. Oh, as he goes off, coming out of the chicane, and Pickford takes that Ferrari liveried machine through. Whew. So that moves Pickford into 7th, Rob Olenek into 8th. So watch them work their way down the hill now. Olenek's not giving up on him. Can report we don't have to go to it, but James King and the GTPs had an issue. He's taken it back into the pits for repairs.
Oh, Hogner off as John Keefe was getting by him in a bad spot. That slowed him down. He was, man, what a great catch by Yoni.
That gap that he had put on Rolla has come in handy. Look at this. Keefe trying to get as much racing room as he can. Poor Hagner. Wow, you're right. That was a phenomenal catch. I'm going to watch it one more time from on board the number, or from above the 3.
We're sorry to the cones.
Those were the orange cones, too. So it takes out almost every single one of them. As we come back live.
Well, he started to open it back up again because he had a little bit of an advantage of Eileen getting through there, and Matthias Gulldogger kind of slowed everything down behind him.
Yep, so Roll is going to have to fight to get back up there again. A battle behind them. Carradine side by side yet again with Riley Thompson. Side-to-side contact. If you wonder why they have no incident limit in this series, stuff like that is why. There's a lot of 4Xs that we've seen with both cars continuing on. This is looking a little more like super late models at a short track.
Hey, man, Buafia means business today.
You bet your sheet metal he is. Let's watch this one more time. And this is a rough hip check. This isn't just a light tap. This is bouncing him off. Joe, and actually, they're side by side right now.
I was going to say, when we go back live, we can go right to him and look at that. Just like that, Riley Thompson makes a bold move to the S's, gets himself back in front. Back to 5th, anyway.
Yeah, and that allows Nick Mukanos to get in the thick of this fight, coming through turn 7. Just about hitting the halfway point now. Oh, and we had a big moment with Louis Emerton and Clayton McLeod.
Well, Clayton's had a busy day, too. And it really was Kirill Kolobuzov was right in the middle of the track when they got there, Joe.
Yeah, he thought he had a great move coming here. Braked too late. Didn't realize that the Petronas car was going to be there. Watch on board McLeod's view. And Clayton just says ASIO position. And he gets it. So Emerton continues on in 10th, but is going to have to work his way back up to Clayton after that. And in fact, is this a pass for position? Yes, it is. John Keefe and the similarly liveried machinery is going to easily take that away from the number 24. Probably a little bit of damage on Luis's car. All right, so I think things have separated for most of our drivers, and as I say that, I see that Thompson Boafia, still close together.
Yeah, it really is the best battle in the GTO field right now. Although Rolola's keeping it close up there with Ogner, but this is fun because these two keep trading paint, and it seems like just about every turn. And well, look who's right behind him, Nick Buchanas. So he's in the thick of this as well.
Let's stay on this battle, but I just want to report behind them is Ove Trankere. Despite his speed, he's not been able to recover from his early problems. He is a whole 4 seconds back of these guys. There you see him on screen.
Yeah, and you know what? If Ove can stay out of trouble, he's really got no threat from behind him now. Arnazi's a full 2 seconds back. He's going to just have to keep pace and stay out of trouble. He can't afford any more at this point.
Watching the leader of Lepisto now in the middle of this battle. Ooh, good run off the corner for Kiradine Buafia. Is he close enough to have a go? That's the question. Thompson's going to have the inside because of that lap traffic. Whoa, Lepisto in front of them, almost losing it. Brings it back together. Houghton is not close enough to capitalize, but it does balk Buafia just a bit.
Oh, Riley sticks it there in the middle. Oh, Lepisto's getting it around.
That's Haynes. That's a lapped car. He's not involved in this. Oh, my goodness. He's trying to let everybody through, and it is just a traffic jam at almost 170 miles an hour. Now Houghton has to deal with these two fighting for top positions in the GTOs. Oh, he gets one. Look at Kiradine try to save the car. Slides it to a straight line somehow.
Here comes Bucanos.
Oh, but it's 3 wide. David Miller trying to get through. He's running in his own race. Buafia holds off Bucanos in all of that mess. And that did allow Kim Erickson to catch up to Houghton in the prototypes. And as soon as I say that, he's balked by the car of Phil Lake at the wrong place at the wrong time. Fabian Gerber on top of him. Down into turn 6, Gerber can't do anything, but he's got an opportunity now. Onto the back stretch. Erickson stretches away. Gets that throttle to the floor. And he makes himself safe onto the podium for the moment. But the traffic is unrelenting. We've had some DNFs, but I don't think we even have time to mention them.
Yeah, no, Joe,
So we watched this go on.
You talked about relentless. It's Villi Raiola, who is really one bad Nissan pass away from catching Joni Hagner. As just in front of them, it was Ian Hannon getting off track. But even as the leaders come through, Joni, good pace, but Villi Raiola still all over this and very, very much a threat.
Yep, he's got the car of Houghton behind him. Houghton's in a hustle because he's got Erickson gaining. He finally gets through the Audi. You can see how close that allows Erickson to get. Boy, it just switches on a heartbeat. You think that you're being attacked, then the next thing you know, you've got an opportunity to attack. Down the back stretch they go. We're on the 007 cam of Michael Houghton looking back at Erickson. That's the lapped car of Johnny Bell, letting them politely through. A little too far back at the chicane for Erickson. These Dougie Beard cams really give you a sense of the speed these Nissans fly around this circuit. Very few slow corners in these machines.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to giggle. Buafia, Raleigh Thompson just had another close moment on track heading out of 10B.
Look at the replay. Buafia gets a run down to the outside, uses the slipstream, and has to manhandle this one away from Thompson. Work the long way around to the first apex, finds the grip somehow. That is an impressive move from the 42.
And Mucanos cleans up in the process, Joe, as he gets around Thompson also. So Thompson's got some work to do here with just over 15 minutes left now.
So as we watch them be gained on by Fabian Jungbluth, he's trying not to break up this battle too bad. They've also got Ian Hannon trying to get out of the way in front of them. Going to hurt their exit just slightly, but I think it's even between Thompson and Mukanos. "15 minutes left to go now. Looks like Jungbluth going to stick his nose in on one. Just going to split him momentarily. And up and over the hill, he's going to be able to get by. Or is he? Now he's able to do it. Oh, Pickford off in a battle. He is off in the first turn. That was with Olenek.
Yeah, and boy, that car just didn't slow down enough. He backs it into the barrier.
I don't think there was contact. Wow, off into the grass to try and make the move stick. Slightest of contacts, but that was after I think Pickford already started to bobble. Really defensive. Thought he had defended enough, but there's the 17. Yeah, just after the car suddenly wobbled back in front of him, there was really nothing that Rob could do in that situation.
All right, Riley Thompson, he got some help from the traffic here. He's caught Mukanos, Joe, and I don't see any damage on Riley's car. It seemed like he was off pace. I wonder if he'd made the tires angry for a moment. Had to back off just a bit, but he seems like now he's got some opportunity here to get back by Mukanos and maybe get back to Boafia, who's now 3 seconds away.
Yep, that car off track that you see is Jim Henley, just pulling off, letting them through. These old tires, these old retro-style tires certainly do not have the life that modern sports car tires do, that's for sure, as John Keefe is going to split them. Oh, and Gerber and Ericsson finally swap places. This happened through turns 6 and 7. The car of Brian Shanahan just found himself at a horrible place. Gerber took advantage, snuck through, boxed in the car of Ericsson, and made it work. Battling as we come back live, Ericsson trying to get back from Gerber out of the chicane, doesn't quite work. Down into turn 1. Gerber a 3-second gap back from Houghton at the moment, so these guys essentially fighting for the final spot on the podium unless a lot of traffic holds up that number 7 ahead of them. Oh! Off into the barriers with contact with Hideki Koivisto. It was a brave move.
Yeah.
He was being absolutely hounded by
that
Ericsson.
Was brave.
We've seen other cars do it successfully.
Man, I'm sorry. Hideki was an innocent bystander there, Joe, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. He did not expect it to happen. So Gerber's fight for the podium spot ends up in tears as Kim Ericsson now promoted easily 10 seconds ahead of Justin Albrecht at this point. So for here, I think from here on out, it's just Ericsson trying to manage the traffic. Speaking of which, things are going to get tense for the lead on managing that traffic between Lepisto and Houghton. There's about a second between them, so any one small little checkup that the Finn of Lepisto experiences is probably going to be very costly. Here's the first one, catching the back of Franco Scurry. Just a little bit of time, not too bad. Oh, and it's going to be much worse for Houghton. Houghton's caught up behind Hannon. And then he has to deal with Scurry on top of it. To give you an idea of how costly those moments are, it was 1 second. It is now 2.2. Back in the GTO class, Jamie Hall, Philip Lake coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, Joe, they had a couple of tense moments actually with Luis Emerton and Pablo Labarra Suarez as they were coming through. In fact, Emerton got off track when he almost ran over Suarez, had to make an evasive move. That brought things together for Jamie and Phil, but now they've got Thomas Delmuth in front of him. They caught him in a good spot. He's moving over, but here comes the GTU there of who's that behind him, Joe? That's Hanu.
And he sideswipes him. Somehow they both keep going. They power through turn 6 sideways. They're still side by side. Philip Lake to the inside, or outside. Jamie Hall to the inside. They've got Mika Ihalainen. He's going to make it 3 wide momentarily. This is a drag race down to turn 10. Little bit of a nose ahead for Jamie Hall now. Can he outbrake him into the corner? Tries to come over to cover him off. Finally gets it done.
If you look at the left side of Jamie's car, man, he's got some pretty good damage over there. Boy, Phil, just all over the bumper.
Yeah, I'd say that's a memento to remember me by. Oh, are they going to try it again? They've got another prototype trying to come through side by side through turn 1. That unsettles the prototype. He has to back off. Boys, this is going to end in tears if you're not careful. Lake and Hall side by side through turn 3, and they come through safely.
Yeah, and we know they never want to wreck each other, but we also know that they're racing hard against each other. These two enjoy doing that.
Whew. This thing is heating up, and I can't see it coming out well for either party. As Guldager, unfortunately, is going to separate them. And this actually brings Buafia into it. Oh, and the prototype battle for the lead is on. It is very on. Or are they going to split the car of Riley Thompson? They are going around either side. But it stays in favor of Antti Lepisto.
Jeez.
And behind them, Kim Erickson has caught up with all the traffic that has slowed these two. So it's now become a 3-way fight for the lead.
Yeah, and you know, Thompson did a good job of getting out of the way, letting Erickson get a run down the hill, and now Erickson all up under the wing of Mike Houghton.
From a battle for first for Houghton to now fending off Kim Erickson. They're going to sneak through Buafia as well as Lake and Hall. They're a little bit spread apart.
Carradine has started to catch them, Joe.
Yeah, he's made good on his pace, that's for sure. Oh, and Phil Lake almost gets balked by Antti Lepisto. The turbo lag of these GTPs are making a bad day for the GTOs in slow corners. One's going to get by. Erickson slides on through. He doesn't want to be left behind here in this fight.
And Erickson with a legitimate shot here to put that car on the podium. He's just got to stay out of trouble. Timu's back there, man.
Podium.
Yeah, no, I'm saying a good chance to stay on the podium if he just stays out of trouble here over the last 7.5 minutes.
Well, Timu's laps down at this point.
He is laps down. I'm sorry.
It's Justin Albrecht who's waiting for something to happen. He's 12 seconds back. He's going to really have to hope for a huge incident up ahead. Finally, a short breather for our leaders. Vili Rola, the second place GTO, is the next up ahead of him. He's nowhere near Hogner at this point. It's about 2.5 seconds between them.
Mucanos just gets into the back of the very, very crippled car at David Miller. Miller had gotten right in front of Mucanos, and, well, he got tipped and might be done at this point. David Miller, that is. Mucanos still digging as Albrecht is coming through.
Yeah, and I can kind of understand that because we saw from the onboard that car went completely off track to get by him. Not something you typically expect. Although, in the Kamel GT series, I'm wondering if that's becoming commonplace as we got a side-by-side battle here.
Buafia Hall.
Hall to the inside. Buafia, he knows this outside is dangerous. He gets out of it. He almost lost the car once in there, but the momentum comes back in his favor. Hall knows it. He goes defensive down into turn 1. Buafia trying to find the grip outside of turn 1, and I think he may have done it. Hall's going to come back at him. He'll have the inside of turn 3 if he could just hold on. This is Justin Albrecht behind them, waiting patiently to try to get through. As Kiridan Buafia tries to keep the car on track. I think they had the lightest of touches there, and they came away clean. I don't know how.
I just about lost it. I thought Kiridan was going around for sure.
We're not playing this up for drama. I'm legitimately this tense here. Oh my God.
I feel like we're at Lime Rock Park all over again for a second.
It really is. And honestly, this has been some really good racing. I thought we'd have way more DNFs than that. The drivers have been dealing with it well. Up in the prototypes, GTP sees Ericsson on the back of Houghton. We've seen criticism. Who is that they're going by? That is Mika Ihalainen, just laps down, letting them through. We've seen some criticism of this series, saying that some of the drivers aren't as good. And honestly, I'm amazed at how good they deal with it out here on this track. Until you get down there and try it for yourself, it's hard to comprehend how fast the action comes at you.
Well, a little practice goes a long way, and
Yeah, it does.
you know, if you can get in these practice sessions early on Saturday, they fill up, and it's good to get in and around driving with these guys and get a little bit of a feel for it. But today's a perfect example, man. It is work, and it's intense.
This is still our battle for second place. Losing touch with Antti Lupisto. The clock is ticking down. Opportunities are slipping away. Don't need to go to it, but Mark Pickford had another problem coming through turn 5. Look at the flashing his lights at the car ahead there. He wants by. He desperately wants by, does Michael Houghton. He finally gets through. Matthias Goldauger just ahead of them now. Lap traffic in your own class always a lot harder to deal with. Kim Eriksson smells blood in the water. He poked his nose out. Going to be slowed up behind turn 6. Great move by Goldauger. Just pulls out of the way, lets them through. See how close they have to cut it. That was the car of Michael Haynes trying to let them by. Almost got his nose chopped off. But no harm, no foul. Eriksson still can't quite find an opening. So we watch this. We'll cut in if anything happens over in the GTO class. But right now, ooh, great run from Eriksson. Heading down to the first corner, but I think he's going to run out of track. Houghton stays safe for now. More traffic up ahead of Mika Kiviporto. And not the greatest of places. This is where we've seen a lot of action go wrong. He slows to actually let them through. Great move by Mika. Up and over turn 5 now. Kim Eriksson still hunting the rear of Michael Houghton, hoping for anything that'll come his way to try and get second place away from him. This has been a hard fight all race long. They're on their backstretch yet again. It's a little bit too far back this time. Both of them trying, as you see one of the lapped cars try to go off track to let them through. Oh, bit of draft going in favor of Eriksson now. Gaining down into the break-in of turn 10, but not gaining enough.
Joe,
getting close to the white flag, but not quite yet. Sean?
I gotta mention this. Kiridan Buafia is catching Phil Lake at an alarming rate at the moment, trying to put himself on the podium before this race is over. He's come from way back. I mean, he dropped Jamie Hall after he got past him.
Like I said, Buafia has pace. We've seen him race in faster machinery, more modern machinery, but this is where I think his heart lies from what we've seen.
I think he's driving on the chip right now too, buddy. A big chip on that shoulder, and there he is, caught him. He's caught him all the way down to 10A and 10B. He has caught him. Here we go. 2 laps to go for these guys.
You can see we jumped back briefly to Ericsson and Houghton. I'm keeping an eye on both. On screen, we see Phil Lake trying to fend off Kiradine Buafia down into turn 1. He closes in, but not close enough. I think that's Jungbluth getting by. Down through turns 3, 4, into the S's. White flag is now out. Our leader has gone through. Oh, he's so close, coming up over turn 5. Can he have an opportunity down into 6? Doesn't duck his nose out, but he is sniffing it, Sean.
Yes, he is. I love it when it comes down to the last lap.
And they're going to get one more, I believe, because the leader is not going to catch them in time. Down into the chicane. Is Buafia close enough? He takes a look. He's got a nose in, side by side. Outbreaks him, but he braked too hard. Slides it in front of him. Gets it done, but now he's got to fend him off for a lap. Oh, over under. Phil Lake with a beautiful move to take it back. Meanwhile, our leader, Antti Lepisto, coming down to the chicane. He's had a threat a few times, but he's fending him off. He's kept calm. He hasn't been frazzled. The cool Finn takes the win here at Road Atlanta.
Sorry, Joe.
Go ahead, Sean.
I'm afraid that battle with Buafia and Lake is over. As car coming through, John Keefe got them out of shape. We'll get back to it.
Yeah, Joni Hogner in the meantime is leading the way. I can report that Michael Houghton led Ericsson home. It was by 1/10 of a second between them. Almost 2/10. Not so for our leaders here in the GTOs. Hagner has about 4 seconds over Rolla. He can relax his way to the finish, Sean. This has been, almost relax his way to the finish. Michael Haynes almost ran into him as he drifts it to the line. Sean, this is a great win for the Finn.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And amazing that he was able to stay fairly clean for most of the race, giving us the little flick there across the line. We appreciate it. But, boy, great race behind them.
I think that's going to close things up. We're going to look at the replay here. Tell us what exactly happened, because I missed this incident, Sean.
Okay, so we have Buafia and Lake going at it side by side. John Keefe comes through. Buafia's got to make an evasive move to avoid Keefe, and then the contact with Lake sends Buafia off into the wall. And it winds up with a 7th place finish for him. Joe, he was on his way to the podium.
So disappointing. We're going to watch it from above. We saw this a little bit earlier as well with Toyka and Gerber, but the roles flipped. Yep, that just, when you see that car flying up your inside, you would just instinctively jerk the wheel away from it. And when you're not clear, that's what happens. So I think Ove said it best in the chat. He says, I survived. The best thing I can say about that race. So let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. We just watched round 6 in the iRacing Kamel GT series. This was full of thrills and spills and some incredible racing all around. Antti Lepisto came out the fastest of everyone, taking the win here today. Michael Houghton tried to get it away from him, just couldn't quite do it. He led Kim Eriksson home. How about Kim? The Finnish driver pressured him the whole way, but still, a third place is a good finish. Justin Albrecht, sort of in no man's land, but I got to give credit to Justin. Having started this race in 9th, he finished 4th. Rob Olenek, starting from 10th, going to 5th. Wasn't a completely clean race for poor Rob, but still a good job there. Fabian Jungbluth, 11th to 6th, a good climb for him as well. John Keefe from 20th to 7th. He was trying to run away from Clayton McLeod when he had that unfortunate contact with some of our front-running GTOs. McLeod finished in 8th. Luis Emerton took 9th. Mark Pickford tried to take it to the finish, but some unfortunate incidents means he finished in 10th. Matthias Guldogger takes 11th. Mika Ihalainen finishes in 12th. And Timu Toika, fat Timu, just a bad day for him. He'll take 13th.
Joe, Joni Hogner. Boy, what a race. I don't know that he was... There was a moment there when it looked like Villarola was really going to catch him, but I think Joni felt pretty good about it from the start. Big win, Villarola, second for him. Phil, in and around the lake, manages to get on the podium. A little bit of regret there between Phil and Carradine, who I thought might be seeing the red mist right now after that last lap incident, but it seems to be a pretty good spirits. But Phil with the third place finish. Jamie Hall for 5th for Riley Thompson. Riley had a really good race, man. It might have been more, but I think the traffic really hurt him. Nick Bucanos almost owned that 5th spot from Riley. They continued to fight right to the end over it. Carradine Bawafia, again, disappointment, I'm sure, but he seems to be in decent spirits. We wish you well, my friend, and we'll see you next week. 7th for him. Pablo Lombrado Suarez mixed in there. He finishes 14th, 21st overall. Ove Trengrade with an 8th place finish in the GTOs. 9th for Milan Arnazzi. Andrea Albertinelli, 10th place finish for him. Franco Scuria, 11th. Mika Kivipuro, he will finish 12th. 13th for Carlos Fonseca. Kirill Kolobuzov will finish 14th. 15th for Thomas Delmuth. Hideki Koivito, a disappointing 16th place finish for him. And Ian Hannon, the last of the GTOs running there at the end, Joe. 17th, 31st overall.
Then we get to our DNFs. David Miller, 32nd overall. James King, Michael Haynes, Johnny Bell, Fabian Gerber, David Raver, 37th. Brian Shanahan, oh man, he's usually farther up than that. He'll be 38th overall. Bronislav Robanek, 39th. Jim Henley in 40th. And we go to the next slide. Matthew Jete, 41st. Henu Etukalta in 42nd. Gregorio Buscemi in 43rd. And Ben Lafter, 41st. Tommy Lacombe finishes in 45th. Dave Walsh, after a front row start, 46 overall. Ardo Yamaki as well. Disappointment very, very early. He's 47th. Mike Kopak, 48th. Tobias Gerber, 49th. Brian Williams, 50th. Antti Turho and Rafael Saz both did not start this race. We have our second place driver overall ready to talk to us, Michael Houghton. Michael, it looked like maybe it could be a fight for the win, but in the final laps, you and Kim, I mean, how full of sweat are you at this point? Because that looked tense from up here.
I need new underwear, buddy.
Man,
for both reasons, sweat and the other thing.
Yeah. So this track, we compared it to Lime Rock today. There were so many cars out there. It looked like you just never had a breather with the traffic.
Yeah, it was really tough. I thought I'd get a chance to get close to Antti, and then boom, I'd get 2 or 3 cars going down turns 4 and 5. So it was a tough day. Ericsson didn't let up. He was keeping me honest.
Yeah, and talk about those S's. In most multi-class series, we always see the advice that you don't try and pass slower cars there. In this race, it seemed like it was fair game, and a lot of the prototypes were trying to sneak through and that back and forth. What's your take on that?
I did it once or twice because the Audi that I was passing was probably one of the slower guys, but other than that, no, I wouldn't do it. I just stay behind, and that forces the guy behind you to stay behind you. So, yeah, it's just something you had to deal with here at Road Atlanta.
Well, a second place finish is, I have to say, a great one considering how much you had to deal with out there. Who makes today happen for you?
That was me, because I had a bad race at the Nordschleife last week. So this is a redemption day.
Fantastic stuff. Well, again, congratulations, and we'll hope to talk to you again in a week's time.
Thank you, guys. Yeehaw!
Bring
I
that
love it when he
Texas
does that.
spirit.
I love it.
Michael Houghton, second place at GTPs. Lake is with us next, and Sean is talking to him.
Hey, not any lake. Phil, in and around the lake, is with us. Phil, I saw what you put in the chat there to Caradine. That Caradine Boafe guy, he's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. When I had him behind me with a couple of laps to go, I knew I was in for a tough fight, and it didn't turn out very well in the end.
I was going to say Jamie did his best to hold him off and keep him away from you, but man, once he got by Jamie, he dropped him and really got on the attack after you.
Yeah. There's no team working together between me and Jamie. We're 1 and 2 in the championship, and it's a fight now. So I think you probably caught us make contact in the broadcast. I think we made contact a couple of times. So it was a fun race. Traffic was tough. We knew traffic was going to be tough here, and I did okay with. I think I had a little bit better pace. Maybe if I'd qualified a little better, then maybe a second place. But it wasn't to be today.
Well, listen, you did reference the fact that you and Jamie are both 1-2 in the points right now. It's been a great season for both of you, but the Finns get the edge on you two today, and they're always a threat week in, week out if they make it to these races. You talked about the traffic today. I honestly talked about it during the race. It was a little reminiscent of Lime Rock Park at times, didn't you think?
Yeah, this track is super tough. There's basically any circuit where you're constantly going left, right all the time is so hard to pass the Audis, because the fastest line for us is to use the whole track, but constantly switching sides, and it's very confusing, and the closing speeds are high, so it does make it difficult.
Yeah, and imagine you get a bit of a sore neck at the end of a race, having that proverbial head on the swivel. Phil, congratulations on a podium finish and continued run in the points here. Halfway through the season, gotta be excited about the outlook going forward.
Yeah, just trying to hang on to that top spot for as long as possible.
All right. Well, congratulations to Phil in and around the lake. We'll see you next week, buddy. And Joe, I think you've got maybe John Keefe next. You're going to talk to him.
Yeah, the Hoosier has joined us. He got 7th place in the prototypes. I want to bring it back to the last lap, John, because I want you to be able to defend yourself a little bit. Obviously, from the surface, it looked a little rude when you came through, made it 3 wide in that battle we were watching in the GTOs. But on second glance, it looked like you had some people hustling you behind.
Yeah, I mean, I just fully committed. And did it cause any issues? Because I hadn't watched any replays.
Unfortunately, Kiradine took evasive action because you surprised him, and he got spun out. So it was a little bit of a disappointment. But like I said, once I went back and looked at it, I kind of understood everybody's the reasoning for everybody's actions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not an ideal situation at all. Public apology to Caradine for sure. I wasn't aware that caused an issue with him, but yeah, I mean. Just very intense race, and then the closing stages of that, I didn't really think I was going to end up where I was, and I had Clayton and Lewis, and I think they were a second and a half maybe, both behind me. So I was just pushing, trying to keep that position. Starting from P20, I would have never imagined getting even into the top 10. So very exciting race. I'm really sad to hear about this, though.
Well, I'm sorry to be the deliverer of the bad news. I mean, like you said, though, that was a phenomenal run from 20th to 7th. Stepping away from racing a bit, you and I have discovered a common interest. What kind of skateboarding tricks are you working on right now?
Well, not falling.
That's a good one to learn.
It is. I was always a ramp skater back when I was a kid, and a couple years ago when I got back into it, I found a couple parks locally here. So I pretty much stick to vert stuff. I'm not really doing anything. Yeah. Street skating scares me because I don't want to be out of work for 2 weeks with a rolled ankle. So.
Well, yeah, and I can attest, being in my mid-30s, chucking your body downstairs anymore just doesn't work like it did when you're 18. So
no, it does not.
All right. Well, stay safe out there, and congratulations on the 7th. We'll talk to you later.
Yes, I will go PM Caradine right away. And again, public apology, Caradine. I didn't realize that caused an issue, but I just committed, went for it, and I'm really sad to hear that. But we'll move on and go to the next one.
Yep. Seems like he wasn't too upset. That was John Keefe. And one last one, we've got Sean talking to Matthias Goldauger.
I do, and Matthias is going to walk away with an 11th place finish today. Matthias, how much fun was that today?
That was amazing. I literally loved it. I had a bit of a trouble in the start of the race, but it was quite a fun race.
Yeah, a lot of traffic out there to work through. How was it most of the race for you?
It was mostly quite comfortable. Not a lot of cars, but the few Audis I actually was close to, they were not the easiest to get around, especially down the S's. But otherwise, it was quite good.
Yeah, and this track gets kind of narrow in several spots, making those passes even harder to make. But you survive it, and you finish with an 11th place, and I imagine you're pretty happy about that here on a big field. We started 52 cars today.
Yes, I'm very, very glad. I think it's my best finish, but I can't remember if I finished better at Le Mans last year or last season. But yes, it's probably the best race I've raced in.
Well, I tell you what, getting a great result at Le Mans is fun, but I certainly think this track is a lot more challenging. So great effort today. Anybody you'd like to thank? You got any fans watching today?
Well, I got my grandmom watching, which I would like to say hello to, and thanks for looking in or checking in. And to my big brother, who's probably looking right now. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, we're glad to have the family on, the Goldauger family watching us today, and big shout out to all of them. So congratulations, buddy. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again soon.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, Joe. Hey, man, we've got the whole Goldauger family are fans now of the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network.
We'll have to ask if we can come over for a traditional Scandinavian meal or something.
I'm down. Let's do it.
All right, let's close up first before we do that. A big thank you once again to iRacing for bringing us onto the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe to them. There's a big red button that says subscribe. Should be obvious. Click that and you won't miss a moment here on the iRacing Esports Network. A big thank you to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for yet another season. How many seasons has it been at this point? I'm going to have to check up on that because I think we're up to 8. So 2 years worth of coverage here on the Global Sim Racing channel. It's been fun the whole time. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check us out on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Head on over to our page, over to the Global Sim Racing Channel, and we've also got a big red subscribe button. Hit that so that you don't miss a moment on the GSRC. The next race, we are going to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's right, the Roval gets some more action. It's the old one, though, that they're racing on. Don't quite have that yet, the new one here on iRacing, but hashtag soon, as they say. Saturday, October 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern is when that race will kick off. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.